Most people spend 30 years building their 401k and IRA, carefully saving, investing, watching it grow, and then they make one small paperwork mistake and the government takes a massive chunk of it before their family ever sees a dollar. Here's the part that surprises most people. Your will has absolutely nothing to do with who gets your retirement accounts when you die. Nothing. I've seen families torn apart over this. I've seen adult children handed a tax bill they had no idea was coming, sometimes 6 figures. And I've seen accounts worth hundreds of thousands of dollars get frozen in probate court for over a year while the family can't touch a single penny. The worst part? Every single one of those situations was completely preventable with one simple update that takes about 15 minutes. But here's what I really want you to stay for, because most people think they already have this handled. They named a beneficiary years ago and haven't thought about it since, and that might actually be the most dangerous position to be in, because the rules changed, and if you haven't updated your accounts since 2020, what your family inherits could look very different than what you intended. We're going to cover how beneficiary designations actually work, what the IRS now requires from your kids when they inherit your accounts, and there's one specific mistake involving minor children that I almost never hear anyone talk about, but it can completely derail everything you've planned. Number 1. Your will doesn't control your retirement accounts. Let's start with the one thing that surprises people the most. You have a will. Maybe you paid an attorney good money to write it. Maybe you've updated it. You've listed who gets what, the house, the bank accounts, the car. But here's what most people don't realize. Your 401k and your IRA do not go through your will. They go to whoever is listed on your beneficiary designation form, period. That's a separate document you filled out probably when you first opened the account, and it overrides everything your will says. So let's say your will says your daughter gets everything, but 15 years ago when you opened your IRA, you listed your ex-spouse as the beneficiary and never updated it. Guess who gets the IRA? Your ex-spouse, not your daughter, not what your will says. The form wins, every time. This has been tested in courts all over the country. The Supreme Court has ruled on it. The beneficiary form is a legal contract, and it takes precedence over your will, your estate plan, everything. Now, you might be thinking, I'm sure I named someone. I did this right. And maybe you did. But when did you last check? When did you last log in and confirm who is listed? If the answer is, I'm not sure, that's the first thing I want you to do after this video. We'll talk about exactly how to do that in the action steps. But first, let me show you what happens when there's nobody listed at all, because this is where things get really painful for families. Number 2, what happens if you have no beneficiary listed? If you die without a named beneficiary on your retirement account, the account goes to your estate. That sounds simple. It's not. When an account goes to your estate, it has to go through a legal process called probate. Probate is a court-supervised process that determines how your assets get distributed. It's slow, it's expensive, and it's public record. Here's what that actually looks like in practice. Imagine a widower. Let's call him a retired teacher in his mid-70s. He passes away with a $320,000 traditional IRA. He never updated his beneficiary after his wife passed. The account was listed with no contingent beneficiary, just estate. His 3 adult children expected to receive the money within a few weeks. Instead, the account was frozen. They had to hire a probate attorney. The process took 14 months. By the time it was resolved, legal fees had consumed over $18,000 of the account. And the tax situation, which we'll cover in a moment, made it significantly worse than if the money had passed directly to the children as named beneficiaries. 14 months, $18,000 in fees, all because of one blank line on a form. And here's another thing probate does that most people don't think about. It makes everything public. Anyone can look up what you owned, who you owed money to, what your family received. If privacy matters to you, and for most families it should, probate is the worst possible outcome. The fix is simple. Name a primary beneficiary and name at least one contingent beneficiary as a backup. A contingent beneficiary is who gets the account if your primary beneficiary passes before you do. Most people name a primary. Very few name a contingent. Don't make that mistake. Number 3, the spousal advantage and why non-spouses are in a different situation. Now let's talk about what happens when you do have a named beneficiary, because who you name matters a lot, and the rules are very different depending on whether that person is your spouse or not. If your spouse inherits your IRA or 401k, they have a powerful option that nobody else gets. They can roll the account directly into their own IRA. It becomes their account. They control it. They can leave it invested. They don't have to take any distributions until they're required to, which, under the current rules, is age 73. This is called a spousal rollover, and it's one of the most valuable inheritance options in the entire tax code. Imagine a husband passes away at age 68. His wife is 65. He had a traditional IRA worth $480,000. She rolls it into her own IRA. She doesn't have to touch it for another 8 years. It continues to grow, tax-deferred. By the time she's required to take distributions, the account has grown to over $600,000, and she controls exactly how and when she draws it down. That's the spousal advantage. It's significant. Now, what about your adult children, your siblings, a close friend you want to leave something to? They don't get that option. Non-spouse beneficiaries cannot roll the account into their own IRA. They inherit it differently. And this is where the Secure Act 2.0 changes things dramatically, and where most families get blindsided. Now I'm about to explain is the single biggest tax surprise most families face after a loved one passes. It's a rule that went into effect in 2020, and the IRS just clarified it further in 2024. If your children, or anyone other than your spouse, is listed as a beneficiary on your retirement accounts, this directly affects them, and most people have no idea it's coming. Number 4, the 10-year rule, the tax hit nobody sees coming. Before 2020, when a non-spouse beneficiary like your adult child inherited an IRA, they could stretch withdrawals over their entire lifetime. A 45-year-old inheriting a $400,000 IRA could take small, manageable withdrawals over 30 or 40 years. The tax impact was minimal. The account kept growing. That rule is gone. The Secure Act, passed in 2020 and updated further under Secure Act 2.0, changed everything. Now, most non-spouse beneficiaries must withdraw the entire inherited account within 10 years of inheriting it. All of it, gone within a decade. And withdrawals from a traditional IRA or 401k are taxed as ordinary income, so whatever they pull out gets added to their regular income that year. Let me show you what this looks like in real numbers. Imagine your daughter inherits your traditional IRA, $450,000. She's 52, she's still working, earning $85,000 a year. Under the 10-year rule, she needs to withdraw everything within 10 years. If she spreads it evenly, $45,000 per year, that gets added to her $85,000 salary. Her taxable income jumps to $130,000 a year for a decade. She could easily move into a higher tax bracket every single year for 10 years because of this inheritance. The total tax impact? Potentially $100,000 or more in additional taxes over that period, on money you already paid taxes on or deferred specifically to pass on to her. Now, does this mean you shouldn't name your children as beneficiaries? No, but it means the conversation with your family and potentially with a tax advisor is more important than ever, because there are strategies that can soften this. Roth conversions before you pass, for example, can dramatically change the equation. Your heirs inherit a Roth IRA, and withdrawals are tax-free. That's a strategy worth exploring if you're in your 60s and haven't started converting yet. The point is, the 10-year rule is real, it's significant, and your family deserves to know it's coming. Number 5, the minor children mistake, the one nobody talks about. Here's a mistake I almost never hear discussed, and it's one of the most serious ones on this list. Some parents, wanting to make sure their children are provided for, list their minor children, under age 18, as direct beneficiaries on their retirement accounts. It feels responsible, it feels like good planning, but here's the problem. A minor child cannot legally inherit a retirement account directly. If a minor is named as beneficiary and inherits the account, a court must appoint a legal guardian to manage the assets on the child's behalf. That means probate. That means legal fees. That means a judge making decisions about your money and your child's future. And once that child turns 18, depending on the state and account type, they could receive the entire balance as an 18-year-old with no financial experience and no restrictions on how to spend it. That is almost certainly not what you intended. The better approach, if you want to provide for minor children or grandchildren, is to work with an estate planning attorney to set up a trust as the beneficiary. The trust controls when and how distributions are made. It protects the child, it avoids probate, and it ensures the money is used the way you intended, for education, for housing, for their future, not spent in 6 months. This is not a complicated or expensive thing to set up, but it requires one conversation with the right professional. And if you have minor children or grandchildren listed directly on your retirement accounts right now, that conversation should happen soon. All right, let's talk about what to actually do with all of this, because information without action is just worry. Here are 5 specific things I want you to do this week. Step 1. Log into every retirement account you have, your 401k, your IRA, any old accounts from previous employers, and pull up the beneficiary section. Write down who is currently listed, primary and contingent. Don't assume, actually look. Step 2. Compare what you see to what you actually want. Is your spouse listed? Are your children listed? Is the beneficiary line completely blank? This is a common discovery, and it's a fixable one, usually in minutes. Step 3. If you're married, confirm your spouse is your primary beneficiary, unless you have a specific reason otherwise, and name at least one contingent beneficiary as a backup. Step 4. If you have minor children or grandchildren you want to provide for, schedule a conversation with an estate planning attorney about whether a trust makes sense as a beneficiary. You don't need to do this today, but put it on the calendar. Step 5. Tell your family what you've set up. Not the dollar amounts if you're not comfortable, but the fact that you've taken care of this, that you have beneficiaries named, that there's a plan. This one conversation can save your family enormous confusion and legal cost when the time comes. These 5 steps take a few hours of your life. The cost of not doing them can be measured in tens of thousands of dollars and months of family stress. And let me know in the comments, when did you last check your beneficiary designations? And if you have a specific question about your situation, drop it also. I'll do my best to answer it. If this video was helpful, please subscribe. And if you want to know about the retirement sweet spot, when you can stop contributing to 401k and still grow your capital, that video is right here. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.